quick. I don't really have much to say today. Um, we didn't hit the ultimate target up here, which would have made sense to pop up into. So it doesn't look like it's super up or super down. DXY is being a little bit funky. You got support on the 12. We'll see that in a second. So let's just kind of go over what we want to see. It's probably going to be a short video. We'll see where we start off. We'll see if some central bank comes out with something crazy. We can look at USD, the Japanese yen. I'm kind of interested to see what that looks like. Um, this is good. I think we talked about yesterday. This is bad. This is like, I don't think this was anything specifically, which is where we started. I think this was also bad as well, and this was bad. So the chance we start here pretty low, but this is pretty bad if we start down here. If we start here, it's probably fine. It's really hard to say. I'd be looking more for maybe like a 4 hour starting in here, and we can look at the Nasdaq in a second. Provide a little bit more context for this. We can just look at this at the 4 hour. We got a change here at 130. Wasn't really too pretty for that. Never since we got this 4 hour switch over, we kind of just been trending down. So if we want to look at the Nasdaq for skilling, we can see we came up yesterday. We touched up here and really just been pushing down ever since then. So we're still holding on here. This looks like a pretty ugly start to the day. We'll see how high this gets. I don't like this because we didn't have a wick down here. So there's kind of like this open space right here that I'm not really a fan of. So we'll see. I think today is inherently weaker than any other day. And for like a upwards big continuation, I'm looking for something to start above the day here. So we didn't hit our targets either on the 4 hour for the SPY. It's kind of coming down to where we are now. And we should see, I think maybe the Dow might be a little bit higher. Yeah, so it's a little bit higher for the Dow. But we can kind of see that there. And then we see NASDAQ. We did get a nice start, but everything else just looked horrible. So it kind of is what it is. Yesterday it did look nice, but we also had this lineup with Apple also as well. And we had some things look pretty sketchy on the NASDAQ, the 23.5 NASDAQ as well. We can see this was the hit here. And pretty much ever since here, we kind of just kept trending back down. So I'm not surprised it's pushing up. I would have preferred to see it drop more yesterday before it tries to push up here. So I'm not just really not a huge fan of it whatsoever at all. We can just see that there's so much weighted here and there's like nothing down here. So it's a little bit concerning for that. Bitcoin in itself, we'll kind of see what happens. I think a lot of this is still based off of the day. I don't have anything here. I mean, I could look at some more stuff, but I'm kind of just like whatever, kind of agnostic to it. We can see it here on the 2 hour in a second. Boom, this looks pretty nice for a bunch of this. Just been ranging around here. A little bit sketchy, I will admit, with this where we did start under. But we seem to have pushed back up. I think a lot of this is probably just from the DXY turning around more so than bullishness from Bitcoin, kind of in that sense. So that's kind of that. We can see a little bit on the one. So maybe if we want to say if it ends up, I mean, you have to look at the averages for this. If you don't have them, you don't have them. So it kind of is what it is. I don't really want to go into it too specifically. For me, I'd be looking for it to break and start under this, and at the same time, something under the 2 hour also as well. And when the market's open, who cares? Because the market will more or less dictate the direction this takes, and we don't really need to look at that. For the VIX, it's pushing up. I mean, I get that it's pushing up because things look sketchy, but there's still a possibility things push up. It seems pretty unlikely that things will at this point. We'll have to see where things start off, but it looks pretty unlikely that we continue pushing up from here. So it's kind of like in between. I don't know why we spend so much time up in this area and we spend almost no time. Like when we have this pretty much as a blocked off area, I don't know why we'd jump past this and then not spend any time in this range for support on the top side. It just makes zero sense. So I mean, if this is like going to be a bull trap, then maybe so be it. Mainly the thing I'm looking for is a day starting here and then pushing us out somewhere to here. On the week time frame, we have one more day. Tomorrow's Friday. So I would like to see this by the end of the week. I would like to see this actually down. So I think this could be pretty decent if we do end our week somewhere around here, around 142.65. And I'd like to see the next week start slightly above 142.65. or somewhere in this range. I think that'd be pretty nice, and then maybe we can push back up. Um, and we haven't hit these targets. We got pretty close to it. We haven't hit these targets, and maybe we can push back up, at least try there, fight back up, or maybe just turn around the next week, or maybe even this same week. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll have to see what happens overnight where we start. Hang Seng looks pretty ugly. It's getting some selling back on it once again. So under the month, this is the first time we've seen it in the Hang Seng's history anyway for the 200 smooth. So nothing really new. Gold's pretty overbought for what it was. We'll see what happens. I think a lot of this was just a reaction to expecting maybe what the Fed would do. I guess we have non-farm payrolls tomorrow, so that'll be a lot. That's why I kind of don't even want to do this, because it's like we'll see tomorrow. I think for a lot of this, we'll see tomorrow morning, and that can drive a lot of the direction of what we take for tomorrow anyway. And that maybe chooses what direction we take next week. I guess just show Mara real quick. Nothing's too special. I don't like this at all. I wish it never got bought up this far. I think this can only, I mean, it's not horrible, but it can only serve to hurt this, either trying to push back up tomorrow or trying to start next week above, which will be 7.6. So 13.20, 13.21, somewhere around there. I'd like to see a week start above that, and that looks pretty good. Otherwise, we've already hit the whole range, and everything else from this point just overbuying. Let's see. Yes, we were going to take a look at US dollar to the Japanese yen. Yeah, so this is at 145, so this is going to be another thing. We'll see how this pans out. As we've seen before, it's like huge possible gains here. It's actually pretty wild. It's like 30 to, even just coming up here, I think 17%. Oh no, I'm thinking of something else. This is 6%. But up here we come up to like 40% or almost 50% from where it currently is, not even where like the entry points were. So this is pretty wild. So we'll see what happens with the dollar, if it keeps pushing up or if the yen keeps pushing down. Because I'm pretty sure the yen was getting wrecked quite a bit. The yields were getting destroyed pretty badly. Oh yeah, what are the U.S. yields? That's actually something I didn't look at today. What are the gilts? I don't know. I don't know what they do to stop this. They said they were going to stop by October 14th, which is next Friday. I mean, this is pretty much saying that they're going to keep buying bonds. I mean, it literally just turns around. We didn't even come down to the support area. It just turned around. So this is a little bit concerning. The 1 year was the most concerning to me, even before this pushed up so much today, just because these wicks are pretty insane, which is pretty wild. That's pretty crazy from where it was there. It's up 16% at the top. I mean, this is wild. This truly is wild for it. It's actually insane. So who knows where this stuff turns out. Let's see the US yields, 2 years stronger than it was before. Wow. So it's not high up on the day today, but from yesterday, the heck? Oh yeah, today's the 7th. But from yesterday where it ended, it's up 3%. That's pretty, so all this stuff is just pushing back up. Not saying it's like necessarily breaking out of like whatever it's been in. Well, we could probably put this. I mean, this is fine here too. You could put it here. I feel like you could put it here. I don't really care. Either one's fine. So I mean, it's kind of broken out. I'm not saying it's like gonna break out, but this is also something that's a little bit. This is also something that's pretty concerning to me. And the Treasury Bond ETF also looks super ugly as well. I mean, this thing looked bad from a long time ago, so nothing significantly changed with that. But we'll just have to play by ear and see. This stuff looks pretty bad. I don't see how they don't go to quantitative easing though, and I don't see how they don't. Well, we'll see. I mean, can you contain something like this? That's my kind of biggest question on these things is like, can you really contain something like this. And I personally don't think a lot of this stuff can be contained. Oh, police out there. As usual. Well, not as usual, but it's a kind of a main street, cut through street anyway. Okay. Am I missing? Here we go. HGI. Yeah, I mean, this stuff, everything's so responsive and everything's super ugly, but all they have to do is switch it over. It's pretty wild. I mean, this is even pretty wild. I mean, this is actually pretty wild that it. I guess I'm not surprised it popped up this much. When people think quantitative easing's coming back on, I could see them. I could see this being a reason to pop it up. But like when you see something like this, like overbuying there and then ending under, and then this with overbuying here, or like a wick up, whatever you want to say. Even with this down here, it's still somewhat surprising that it's able to get above this area, let alone come all the way back. It's pretty wild. Well, Robinhood's doing pretty interesting. This will be somewhat interesting to see out of a lot of these. It looked pretty good over here. The market's managed to hold up. We'll see what happens with everything though. Oh, man, I moved this. This is supposed to be somewhere else. I moved this on the app on accident. Whatever, I'll fix this another time. I moved this on the app on accident and I closed it and I was like, please don't. Um, okay, actually, this looks just about right. I think it was a little bit off. I think it was supposed to be up a little bit more where I had it. 55. I think it was 57 is where I had it. This looks about right. Was that it? I think it was. Yeah, that looks just about it. Yeah. Okay, so it was just like the other day. Okay, this was like 55 and we ended at 1075. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is right. Okay, okay, there we go. So we'll see where this goes. This looks pretty decent for what it was. We get our head above, start above, push. So this is really nice, but it feels very dependent on the market, what the market's kind of doing. Oh, Jesus Christ, looks ugly. I mean, I don't know if there's really much else to go off besides that. I don't really look at Neo. Main source pointed this out, which was pretty interesting. Really hit hard for me personally. Like the lockdown stuff, it's probably doing this, but also at the same time, just the Hang Seng where it is. I've seen this move pretty heavily with the Hang Seng before. I think it was in March here. It moved pretty hard with the Hang Seng. Outside of the Nasdaq, it moved pretty hard on its own. So I think this is probably some weakness in the Hang Seng. Is like the expectation, though it would be selling based off of sentiment. I think the Hang Seng's in a pretty sketchy spot, but it's not like it's super dropped off a cliff. It certainly didn't drop off a cliff yesterday. If anything, I think it went up 5%, but it came back to the target. Oh wow, Tilray definitely did do something. That is pretty wild. Oh well. Oh well, who I almost don't care. 318. So yeah, you had like right when it first opened. Let's see where the market takes this. I believe this was main source again said there was Biden stuff, I believe. Said like the idea of pardoning weed things. I mean that dude does nothing. It's literally all just election stuff. I mean, we'll see if he actually does do it. If he was smart, he would have done something like this a long time ago. Would have made announcements for this a long time ago. So it just blows my mind, like about legalization or federally decriminalizing and things like that. So it's stupid to I don't I mean it's not stupid, but it's all just pandering before the election. It's so stupid. It's all dumb and it's all worthless. We'll see where it goes. Maybe it means something. But that's pretty much it, and I think we're pretty good from there. Bed Bath and Beyond looks pretty ugly for what it is. This is actually looks like it's on a cliff. Maybe we'll see Bed Bath and Beyond the end of it soon, but it looks like it could drop another like maybe 15%. Horrible for a lot of these stocks, especially these cruise line stocks, but it just, just really is what it is. I think we can end it there. I don't think there's anything else in particular um, that I really care about. Oh yeah, there's natural gas that we saw earlier. This looked really ugly. There's this guy that on Twitter that said this was pretty decent. I remember looking at this and thinking like, this actually does look really nice. Like when he put it out somewhere that was probably like somewhere around here in this area, or he probably put it somewhere like before it popped up. I mean, this actually looks pretty decent. I mean, this actually looks really good right here. This is pretty sketchy for what it is, but I mean, this is pretty nice. But the issue is we come up. I guess the market, probably some other factors too. But I mean, this is ugly. I think he was saying buy 750, December 750 calls, sell these, which makes sense, but you're not making much on these, and you're buying your off. You're selling these. You're selling these, which is really scary. Which might was what's going to be really scary. Selling these is really scary, and then like buying these or something, which I don't completely get because there's no spread here really. There's a spread with this. There must have been another put or something. I don't know what, but all I saw on the thing was like call, call, put. So I'm not sure how he's selling these with no spread. I guess that's just like I don't know. It's saying to other people. I guess maybe he can do it or something. Um, but that's like in for a world of pain. I don't even know what this line is for. Maybe there's something here. Oh yeah, this is the 12 hour, which I was like, man, if we start under this 12 hour, this could be a lot of pain. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Natural gas really could drop. So that'll be pretty. I just thought that was kind of interesting. It's not really anything huge, huge. Anyway, I'm gonna end it there. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Have a good night.